We have male clients as well as female clients. So Mike had met this woman, and I guess they were exclusively dating.
Yeah, they were
Yep.
definitely
They
exclusively
were at
dating.
that place of exclusively dating, but
Yeah.
not committed to anything yet. But they weren't dating other people.
Hmm.
And
Let's call her Kate.
okay, so what Mike noticed about Kate was that she was kind of cold. I mean, he liked her. He was attracted to her. She was this successful woman, which is what he was looking for.
Yeah, he kind
Right?
of had this thing about wanting to date a woman who had, in his mind, he said status.
Right.
He wanted to date a woman with status.
He had to think about status. Anyway, that's his thing. So Kate was kind of cold and not always the nicest person. But he noticed something. He noticed that, when Kate had a couple glasses of wine, she opened up, right? She became very friendly. She became,
She loosened up.
effusive.
She was warmer.
She was much warmer,
Yeah.
right? And the thing about Mike is he couldn't quite understand that this was a red flag.
Yeah, because ultimately what he was getting were mixed messages.
Exactly.
Right,
Come here,
so
come
one
here, come
hit-
here. I feel good right now. I got the
Yeah,
wine in me.
and
Come
go away, give me
here.
some space.
Okay, I'm sober now.
Yeah,
Go away.
I want
Just
space.
I can't deal with people.
And there are some people that send mixed messages even when there isn't a
Substance
substance.
involved. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
some people just send mixed messages. They're not intending to. It's not an intentional thing, but they are sending the come here, go away.
Uh-huh.
It's kind of like hitting the gas and the brake at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you can't really make a lot of forward movement with that person because it's a gas brake situation.
Yeah.
If you got in the car and you were stepping on the gas and the brake, you wouldn't get anywhere very fast.
No, you're not going anywhere.
You're not going anywhere. So hello everybody, I'm Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters, and this is Love Intervention.
It sure is. We are here to intervene in a good way in your love life so that we can make it better. And we're talking tonight about all the different signs that the person you're dating or the person you're in a relationship with at the moment is too much emotional baggage for a relationship.
They're not emotionally available for what you really want.
Yeah.
Needless to say, Mike and Kate are no longer together. It didn't last, right? There was only so much wine that, and, Mike wanted something more. He wanted something, somebody who was available to him.
Yeah, and someone that was a little bit more steady, that he didn't have to ply with wine to hear how she felt about him or what was going on with him. And I think sometimes, women have this sort of idea, right, to be mysterious.
Oh, okay.
Don't let him know.
Right. Don't tell him everything.
Don't tell him everything. Hold your cards close to your chest, kind of cloak your heart a little bit. Don't you think?
Yeah, I definitely have experienced that.
We always hear about how women are a mystery to men. And I think, some women kind of buy into this idea of like leaving a little mystery kind of makes it enticing somehow.
I think there's something about that, but ultimately, when you're, in a long-term relationship with somebody, you're gonna see all the stuff, right? And you're gonna
see all the stuff.
You're gonna experience all the bodily functions and the sicknesses and the, all that stuff.
But I don't mean like that.
No, but wait, I'm not done. So it's part of just being with a person, right? Is getting to know them as a person, getting to know all their quirks and everything. I mean, I know, when Orna's not feeling well, right? And she oftentimes doesn't have to tell me because I can see it in the way she's behaving, the way she's responding. It's like, oh, there's something going on there.
Yeah, but I'm an open book.
Yeah, no, you are. But I'm just saying that there's a real benefit to that, right? To being with this person that you know and get and understand and can figure out. And it's not a mystery. And so you can go, oh, I think I know what's going on here, right? That there's something really useful in that. I guess I'm sort of countering this idea of you want to leave a little bit of mystery.
Right, that's my point. My point is that there's one thing to say leave a little mystery, whether that's your belief or not. But there's a difference between that and literally sending mixed messages of come here and go away.
Right.
And I think that the come here, go away shows up a lot when men are dating in the hot, cold. He's hot, then he disappears and he's, if he's not present, he's cold.
Right. Right.
So not, he either is hot for you 1 minute and the next minute you don't hear from him for a week and a half. And you're like, where'd he go? You think he's ghosted you. And then he shows up again. He's hot for you again. So it's the hot, cold. It's the mixed messages. So mixed messages is a clear sign that the person is not emotionally available for a relationship, regardless of what they tell you, regardless of what their actions are. Because If the chemistry is hot between the two of you, well, it's always going to feel like it's a green light, like this
Yeah.
is good to go, right? Kind of thing. Whereas that hotness, that good yummy stuff has to exist outside of the bedroom for
Yeah.
there to be substance in the relationship. I mean, so the mixed messages isn't about what's going on in the bedroom. It's what's happening in the larger picture of the dating and the seeing somebody, right? Like that. So I think it's really important to get that mixed messages is a clear sign. So we have a number of clear signs.
Yeah, but I'm going to talk about that for a
this idea
second.
of
Right? This
emotional
mixed
baggage.
message thing and the guy who
That's what we're talking about.
disappears and
The hot cold.
the hot cold, right? And there's
Yeah.
I mean, somebody wrote a book about it, right? Why people disappear, right? And I'm like, look, who cares why?
Oh,
Right?
I see
Who
what you're
really
saying.
cares
Yeah.
why? Because his behavior is telling you everything you need to know. What happens is we take people's behavior personally and we go, what did I do? What did I do wrong? Oh my gosh, what did I do wrong? Right? Because he hasn't called me in a week. You didn't do anything wrong.
That tells you about him.
Just it's him. He's not available for a relationship. He may
Bingo.
be attractive. He may like you when he's in your presence, right? But he's not available for a relationship. If he's available for a relationship, he's calling you regularly, setting
not
up dates.
sending you mixed
He's moving things
messages.
forwards. There's no mixed confusion about the message.
Yeah.
That's the point.
So we're already getting questions, which I love. Our team is porting them over. So I just want to tell people, if you're catching us on a Facebook or YouTube or wherever you are, you can post your comments for us tonight, for tonight's love intervention, right wherever you are. And our team members, thank you team, will port them over to where we are. So, and if
Right.
you're catching us on the live feed, there's a chat right there. You can see questions already starting to come in. So we'll answer any question at all, kind of like an AMA and ask us anything
Yeah.
kind of situation.
Doesn't have
here.
to be about mixed messages or emotionally available or
anything.
baggage or anything.
Ask us whatever you want. So we're open for that. I'm just going to say once again, my name is Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters, and this is Love Intervention.
Yes, and so if you are catching this on the live Facebook feed, please give us a like, a thumbs up, a share, a comment, whatever. Share with your friends, tag
Yeah.
your friends. Ask your questions there in the chat. If you're catching us on our YouTube channel, hit the bell wherever that is and subscribe, because then you'll be notified when we're live again. And you can, of course, put your questions there as
Yeah.
well. So we are talking tonight with a little bit of a topic, sort of, it's a lubricant for the evening
Exactly.
to give you ideas for questions.
It's got a nice bouquet, this lubricant.
Yes, it really does.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna talk a little bit more about this idea of signs, right? Things to look for that the person you're seeing is not really available for a relationship, you know? So
Exactly. But some
another
people
one-
call emotional baggage.
yeah, too much emotional baggage, right? Maybe that person just has too much stuff and they're not available for you at this time, right? It doesn't mean like they're broken, there's something wrong with them. We're just saying that if you have hopes of things going somewhere and you're not sure, you're like, is this my person? Is this not my person? If you're looking for love to last, you want that lasting, what we call soul satisfying and long lasting love between you and another person, you got to move on from these people who are not emotionally available. They've got too much emotional baggage. Something's holding them back. And it has nothing to do with you.
One of the ways to say it is you got to say no to anything that is not exactly what you want.
That's right. You got to tell the universe, whatever you think of that, God, goddess, universe, Moses, Jesus, I don't care what you call that power, but you've got to say no to all the things that you don't want so that you get sent, the yummy person that you do. Okay. So you want to be clear on what you want and what you need. And that is really important. So
before we get into questions.
No, I want to talk more about emotional baggage.
That's what I was going to say. Let's talk more about emotional baggage. Look, we're on the same page.
Hey, we usually are. I love you so much.
You too.
Okay. So I want to talk about this. This happens a lot with men who want the woman in the relationship to drive the boat.
Oh,
right? He wants you to drive the boat. And what we mean by that is he's looking for you to lead the relationship, right? To move the relationship forward. He's sort of leaning back and is feminine.
He's laying back and he's waiting for a signal from you that says green light, go. And then, he might let his foot off the brake a little bit, but he's still going to look to you and go, okay, I let my foot off the brake a little bit. We're moving a little forward. How is this for you? Is this good? Is this good? Is this good? How about that? Is that good?
Please stop doing that. You know I don't like it.
So
like
we know what these guys are like, right? We know what these guys are like, right? They're not willing to just step up and say, hey, this is what I want, right? This is who I am, and this is what I want. And you know what? You look a lot like what I want.
Those guys come in 2 flavors.
Yeah.
And the one flavor is the not so confident guy who really likes you.
Right.
And he doesn't know how to step up and sort of claim you and lead. Right. So he doesn't know because he's insecure. Right. And then there's the other guy, the other flavor that shows up this way. And this flavor is the guy he's non-committal. He's like, he just, let's just hang.
Things are cool like they are.
Yeah.
Why do they need to change?
What do you mean? You need me to do something? Like, you're doing all this hard work of reaching out to me and making plans.
Don't work so hard.
Yeah, like.
Let's just take it easy.
Yeah. You can't pin those guys down. And the thing is they are slippery, and they give this idea of like they're nice, but they're non-committal. And nice guys are committal. They're not non-committal.
True nice guys.
Because,
not guys who have a nice veneer.
Yeah. So chip off that fake veneer and get under there. I mean, here's the deal. In today's modern world, right? In this modern dating world, women don't need a man for much, except, sharing your life with somebody who's fun and gets you and all those good, yummy things that come with sharing your life with somebody. I mean, we're not supposed to be alone. And I think somewhere along the way, a lot of young women decided, well, men are always having sex with no strings attached. I'll have sex with no strings attached. And you know what? We don't judge. You're a woman that wants to have sex like a man and have sex with no strings attached. Have all the sex you want. We're talking to the women, particularly right now, that really want a relationship. And you want a soul-satisfying, long-lasting relationship. Then you've got to get with a guy who is willing to take the lead and drive the relationship forward. And the reason for that is very few women want to be in the driver's seat because it ends up being like a mismatch of the masculine and feminine energy. Because what happens is somewhere in those 3 to 6 months, those ladies who are driving the boat, right? He wants you to drive the boat. That's the too much emotional baggage, right? That if you're driving the boat 3 to 6 months into that relationship and you're going to want to flip it, you're going to be like having the talk and you're going to want to ask, where is this going? And what we want to say is you don't ever have to ask a guy who is in the driver's seat of the relationship and he's already driving the boat. You don't ever have to ask him where the relationship is going because he's showing you every step of the way.
Exactly. So we're going to get into questions. And we have one that's actually fits right with what we're talking about.
Really?
So Jonah here says, I'm a nice guy, and sadly, I do finish last. The women I'm interested in do not give me the time of day. I use my sense of humor to get into the friend zone, and then I'm stuck there. How do I change this?
I love that he knows his deal. I use my sense of humor to get in the friend zone. So he opens the door with the humor.
Right.
And he's probably quite charming.
Yeah. But then he's stuck there.
And then he's stuck in the friend zone. So here's the thing, Jonah, you got to stop playing the field as a friend from the beginning.
Yeah.
You got to make your intentions known right at the start. And it is so sexy when a guy does that.
And the thing is, you have to be comfortable with the fact that she may not be into you in the way you're into her. And you just got to move on, right? I know because I personally, when I was younger, would be very attached to that woman who was like, yeah, I like you, but, you're a nice guy and whatever. I'd be like, I don't know. Let me stick around long enough and see what happens, right? And nothing ever happened in those situations. Those situations never go anywhere because she doesn't feel that way about you. It's got to be a yes and a yes. It can't be a yes and a no, right? That's not a relationship. Nor is it this way. This is what has to be a relationship. Both of you got to say, hey, I'm into you.
Yeah.
And then she goes,
I want to see where this is going.
And she goes, yeah, I'm into you too. Right? So, Jonah, you have to take a risk.
Early. Don't emotionally invest when it's just in the friend, you making her life kind of thing.
You probably got plenty of friends in your life.
You don't need another.
And I'll be honest with you, most of your women friends you probably want to sleep with. right? So they're not really there because you want them as friends, right?
Let
You
me
want them as something. No, let me say this.
Okay,
You want
rewind
them
you.
something as more
Jeez.
than friends, right? You want something more than friends. So stop treating them like a friend and hoping, wishing that something else will happen, because that's not a good strategy for getting love, right? Instead, you say, hey, you know what? I like you, and I'd like to see where this could go if we got together in a more romantic way. And if she goes, yeah, I like you, you're sweet and funny, but
But no, not. I don't see you that way.
I don't see you that way, right? The nice way she says it, right?
And I don't think
And
you have
that's
to
where
put it on the line in the words. You can just say, "I'd like to take you on a date."
There you
Just
go.
like
That
you don't
works
even
too.
have to say romantic, blah blah, whatever. Like make it really simple, simple, simple. Hey, I'd like to take you on a date. And if that woman shoots you down and it's no for a date, move on. Like I'm not saying be cold or cruel or mean or ignore her. I'm
No.
saying stop hanging out with that woman because
Right.
she already gave you the thumbs down. And once this is the great thing. This I really want you to hear this. Sometimes that woman might be like no, and then you move on, and she's suddenly like, oh wait a second, I
What
just
happened to Jonah?
yeah, I miss
I
him.
miss
I kind of do
Jonah.
like, oh, and then she'll show back up, or she'll give you
Mm.
a ring or a text or whatever, and be like, I screwed up. I want to go on that date. What do you think of that? Right? So here's a good opportunity for you to just risk it up front. All you're asking for is a date. You're not asking somebody to marry you. You're not
No.
asking somebody for exclusivity. One date, right? Now, if you want some tips on how to wow her on that first date, well, why don't we do some work together? We could show you how to really wow somebody on a first date.
Yeah.
So you can send an email to support@loveonpurpose.com. We're happy to help you, or anyone else listening. And if our team wants to pop that into the chat box, you can put that there too for our email address. I think this is a really interesting question. Michael,
Okay, we're going with the guys today.
I know for some reason, but we'll skip around,
Yeah.
we're going to get to the ladies. Michael says, my soulmate and I finally found each other, and it's like we are of one mind. Well, it always starts like that, Michael, but where is this going? Right? It's like we're of one. I get nervous when somebody says that. She gets me on so many levels. Our astrology lines up perfectly. We even have the same rising. Okay, cool. Recently, we had a big fight. Oh, here's the stuff that's going south. And she said some really ugly, hurtful things. And it's like she was suddenly a completely different person.
Oof.
We've made up, but I can't seem to get her voice out of my head. Oh, I keep hearing her mean and condescending tone. I want to let it go. I feel stuck and afraid it's going to happen again. What am I supposed to do? So, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first. There's a lot of things we can say here. The first is it sounds like the two of you have not done a complete repair
Yep,
on this argument.
I will agree.
And so you have to go back, and we'll talk about a repair in a second. But first, I want to talk about what happens when people get triggered, when we get upset, right? When we get triggered, and I mean more than just like, hey, I'm kind of annoyed by you. It's like your brain goes offline and you're seeing red everywhere. You're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, right? When that happens, this part of your brain goes offline. It's no longer thinking rationally, logically. Instead, this monkey little, amygdala, the emotional part that's just trying to keep you alive, kicks into gear and it goes into fight, flight, right? And when we're in fight, flight, well, we're just using whatever strategy we learned when we were really young in order to survive. So it sounds like your girlfriend, your soulmate's strategy when she's in fight, flight is to go on the attack, right? Now that, not a great strategy. It's a very hurtful strategy oftentimes. And so, there needs to be some cleanup. There needs to be some repair of what happened.
You went exactly where I was going to go. That's how I was going to start. So what most people don't understand that if there's a conflict, making up doesn't mean just, oh, now we have sex and everything's fine.
Right.
Or it doesn't mean sweeping it under the rug and not talking about it. It doesn't mean that you keep score in any way. And in order to do that, there needs to be not a intellectual understanding, right? A lot of times people want to clean up the facts, right? To decide who was right or who was wrong or all of this other ego
all of that stuff.
sort of driven stuff. So we want to share with you really quickly how, when there was a conflict, sort of how to move things towards a repair. And we're not going to go over a whole repair process because this isn't a coaching session. We have time. We don't have the time tonight to get to everybody's questions. So, we're not going to go through that. But what we want you to understand is a repair is really about it only takes one person, right? It only takes
Mhm.
one person to significantly change the dynamic in a relationship. So in the relationship, it only takes one person in a conflict to come forward and offer a risk. It's a statement of risk. It's a sharing how you feel.
Right.
So, for example, you were really hurt by the things that she said, and you could have said, "I feel really hurt, sad, angry, frustrated, anything, any feeling statement." But the statement has to come from you, and it has to come from an I sentence. It's not "you made me feel" or "you did this thing that then blah blah blah." It's always I language. So you can Google nonviolent communication. It'll give
Yep.
you a little bit of a template. We change it a little bit. I think we made it better. I think. I hope. We've been doing this a long time, but that work, the nonviolent communication
Mhm.
template, Marshall Rosenberg, is really good stuff if you want to know how to get through a conflict. So the thing about getting through that conflict is owning your side of the equation.
Yeah.
Right? Owning your feeling state and owning anything that you may have done in the misbehavior. And what you do when you come to the other person is you offer your feeling statement and an apology if necessary. Because what happens in that repair process is it only requires that both people be authentic
Mhm.
and speak how they feel. So authenticity has a very high vibration. And when you are authentic and that other person decides to take your invitation and meet you with that high level of authenticity, now you have that emotional connection that your heart really wants. Whereas all that other stuff about logistics and who said this and who was right and who was wrong is an ego argument. And there's nowhere to go except for a tug of war.
Yeah.
Play tug of war with me for a second. So
Okay.
take nice visual. Right, that's no good. Or arm wrestle is a good here on camera. Right, we're stuck. So the better thing is you're authentic, you risk, and then the other person, ooh, you get to see what they're capable of. Ooh, see how I went there? The thing about is someone available for the kind of relationship that you're looking for is doing something like this, that you want to do something where you are authentic. And when you are authentic, you get to evaluate how the other person responds to your authenticity. And what you're evaluating is their capacity. Do they hear you? Do they get defensive? Do they argue with your feeling state? Do they accept it? Do they, oh gosh, you feel hurt and sad. I'm so sorry to hear that. And I feel this. And gosh, I'm so sorry. What happens? Most people are evaluating a relationship with all the sparks and yumminess that comes along in the beginning. And then as we inevitably end up in that power struggle stage, that second stage of relationship, we're wanting those original feelings back. And the thing is you don't go back to there, you grow beyond those initial infatuation feelings to something much deeper if you know how to go through a repair and both risk to be authentic and own your stuff. You have to get out of the ego argument, out of the ego mind, wanting to be right, wanting to hash out the logistics, wanting to parse out the event into this bits and my bits and your bits and that kind of thing. No, don't keep score.
So along with that, right, along with doing the apology and the repair and all of that, there also may need to be like an amends. There may need to be an action or a commitment, right? It may need to be that you ask her to say, hey, look, my request is that you try to do better next time and don't fall into that strategy of attacking me when you're upset, right? Or you ask her, you say, look, I need you to make it up to me in some way, because otherwise I don't know how I can let this go, right? It's a delicate conversation, but it's one that needs to be had. And if the person's not willing to make it up to you, well, that's important information to have moving forward in a relationship, to know whether this person really is your soulmate or not, because it's more than just a feeling.
Absolutely. That's all good feedback. So hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight for a love intervention. My name is Orna Walters.
I'm Matthew Walters, and we are here to intervene in a good way in your love life. We're here to get you on the path to the long-lasting, soul-satisfying love that you desire. So, you don't have to wonder and worry and hope and all that stuff. Instead, you can just relax and focus on the other stuff in your life, because this part is working out.
Yeah, I like it. So if you're on Facebook, you can pop a question for us into the comments there. Our team will put it over here. You can give us a like, a share, any of that good stuff, react. something, that'd be awesome. Also, if you're on YouTube, hit the bell, wherever that is. Subscribe. Also, you can put in a question there. Timo Porter over here.
Yeah.
We got some here in the live feed, in the chat.
We have an interesting one, if you don't mind me going there.
You can take whichever one you like.
You got it? Okay. So this is Isabella, and Isabella says, I ran into an ex, and we ended up hanging out. We never hooked up previously, and he gave me an STD, and I don't know how to approach this subject moving forward. I blocked him completely because it became very clear he is manipulative. I'm accepting responsibility and releasing shame.
So I'm not. She doesn't have a clear question,
but
so I was surprised you picked that
well,
one.
I actually
there is kind of a question, but there's not a clear
There's an implied question, which is what do I do moving forward? Because she said I don't know how to approach the subject moving forward. So
meaning
I want
with someone else.
Yes,
the next partner.
That's what I got. So I would just want to say this: I have actually dated several women who had STDs previous to me meeting them, and in all of those instances, what was really great was they informed me before we had sex, before we were like making out and getting ready to have sex, right? There was a conversation, and that conversation was handled very delicately, but also very maturely, in which they said, look, there's something I need to tell you, right? And as long as we're careful, and everything should be fine. And everything has been fine.
Bingo.
Right? So,
or was fine,
right? So it's not something you have to like turn into this big, big S of shame that you carry around with you, and feel like you can't, talk to a man, or a man's going to reject you because of this, right? Some men may, but that tells you what you need to know about those men.
It's a good screening for anybody. It's just like saying anything else about you. Like, I don't like Bruce Springsteen music. I know, sorry. Right? I mean, I could tell somebody I don't like Bruce Springsteen. You just said that
to the whole world.
I know.
Everybody listening now knows.
That's totally cool.
You don't like Bruce Springsteen.
No, he could write great
songs.
Bruce
might be hearing.
But someone else should
might
sing
be
them.
listening.
He could write all the songs he wants, but someone else should sing them.
Oh.
Okay.
So harsh.
See, and if somebody can't get past the fact that I don't like Bruce Springsteen, you know what I'm saying? So I love, I'm really, this is a serious subject.
I'm sorry.
So Isabella, I want to say thank you for having the courage to come forward today and ask us this question, because I think a lot of people have certain issues like this and they don't know what to do moving forward. And I love that you said you're accepting responsibility, releasing shame. There's no reason for you to have shame. So I'm glad you moved on. You're not going to communicate with this person.
The shame is on him, not on you.
That's correct. Because he didn't share with you, didn't, have anything. So there's this, whatever forgiveness you want to do with that. If you feel like you need some additional support in that, feel free to reach out to us. And what I want to say is Matthew is absolutely right. There's no difference between you sharing whatever it is that you've got and how to be careful and make sure that somebody else doesn't, get it or inform them and all of that stuff.
Right.
Whatever the risks are, it's no different than sharing anything else, like something as simple as the kind of, I don't like this kind of music. It's the same thing. So you can, but the key is really to share it not on the way to the bedroom, not while it's getting hot and heavy between you. You want to share that as you're getting to know somebody. And this is the great thing.
Not on the first date.
No, but here's the important thing. You interrupted me for one thing. And I wanted to say this. When you're looking for a relationship, you don't want to rush to sex. And I know that so many women get mad at me because I'm not trying to send women back to the 50s. I promise you that there's no going backwards. I want you to be in your power in the relationship. And when you have this sort of gatekeeper issue, like an STD, you're not going to rush to sex because you need to have that conversation first to be in integrity. And so you don't want to pass on this thing that you got from somebody who didn't bother to inform you of the risks. So what I want you to do is make an agreement with yourself that you will date for a while before you think that you want to find out more about this person. And sex should mean exclusivity. And when you're ready to have those conversations, or when a man asks you for exclusivity, it's a good opportunity to then have this conversation around having an STD. And that's how you're able to manage that equation. Because if he asks you for exclusivity and you have let him know that exclusivity means sex for you and you're delaying the sex for those reasons up front, you can then let him know about this condition. And then if he pulls the his request, if he takes it off the table suddenly because of this, then he's not your guy anyway.
Yeah.
and you haven't like broadcasted in any way on a first, second, third, or fifth date, you probably don't want to even think about going exclusive with somebody until around, the sixth, seventh, or eighth, ninth, 10th date, or whatever it is that you're comfortable with. We have these ridiculous rules around sex on the third date or how many dates. And
Right.
sex for us, we always say to introduce sex, you need to have the conversation about what sex means, right? If it means nothing and you're just having sex, great. If sex means exclusivity and you're in a relationship, that needs to be communicated. So it doesn't matter. You have a built-in kind of moat around this exclusivity and sex now, because you're going to tie those two things together.
Mhm.
So when a guy asks you for exclusivity and it's too early, you can delay it and delay the conversation. When he asks you for exclusivity and it's at the appropriate time for you to move forward into exclusivity, then you can have this conversation. So there's just like this little, I want you to think about it like around a little moat that you sort of have built in, where you're not going to rush to sex for any reason, because you want to be able to communicate about those things. And we have plenty of clients that have had to have the STD conversation. And a lot of them, when they're dating and they want to have a sexual relationship with somebody, but they don't want the emotions involved, that's okay too, to share about the STD and just have the sex for having sex sake, not about the relationship. So all of that applies. And it's just about knowing how to have that conversation. And you might want to have it some role play, either with a friend or even to the mirror, to have it with yourself.
Right.
So that you get comfortable and really do work on releasing any shame, because there's nothing to be shameful about.
Yeah. And, it can help when having that conversation, just put it into context. Say, look, I hooked up with an ex-boyfriend and, unknowingly to me, he had an STD. And so now I do, right? There's a way to do that. A little more delicate than that, but you get the idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great question.
All right. You want to choose?
I'm going to choose one. Where was one? Could you scroll down? I think there was one below. Oh, yeah, there they are. Somebody says that's fantastic, and I don't know what it was. Oh, it was Bruce Springsteen, I think, because she says LOL. Yeah, I really don't like Bruce Springsteen music. Okay. Eve, that's the one I wanted to take.
All right.
Eve, thank you for this question. So great. She says, signs, they have too much emotional baggage. What if I'm the one with too much emotional baggage? Ugh. I know you're going to tell me it's from my family, and I'm so tired of talking about my messed up family. Gosh, Eve, I can relate so much. Here's the deal. Yes, it goes back to your family, and no, you don't have to talk about your family anymore. If you know the root of the problem comes from your family of origin, then you want to work with somebody who knows how to break the patterns that you're stuck in.
Right.
And those patterns include strategies. We've said this over and over tonight, and I don't know if anybody's actually heard us say the words, oh, this is a strategy. Like we were talking to Michael about his woman, and we were talking
his soulmate strategy for fighting.
His soulmate strategy in a fight is to escalate, right? We talked about this idea of having strategies. And I think a lot of times people think behavior informs you about the person to a degree. It absolutely does, right? Somebody's behavior, you want to see what they do more so than what they say, right? But our behavior is also when we know why we are the way we are, right? So when you go to therapy and you have those deep understanding about why, right? Eve says, I know it goes back to my messed up family. Yes. And here's the little secret, because you learned about love in your family of origin. Yeah. And so in your family of origin, you developed certain strategies for giving and receiving love. And some of those strategies are not serving you now as a grown-up in your search for love.
And you can, stay attached to those strategies. You can say things like, this is just the kind of person I am. Or, like my brother-in-law says, well, people are who they are, right? You can have that kind of belief and then you're stuck with your baggage, right? You're stuck carrying your baggage around, and hopefully you can find somebody who goes, I like that color of bag, right? That works for me, right? But, probably this kind of baggage that you're talking about is getting in the way of you feeling that connection with another person. And so you got to do the work to put some of the baggage aside, or to have a new relationship with the baggage, right? Or to have new strategies around the baggage. And that's what we're talking about, right? Understanding is like the first step. It's like, oh, I get why I am the way I am. And that's really important, right? It's really important, because if you don't get why, then you think there's something wrong with you and you're broken and all that. And you go, no, I just learned this. Okay, great. But why is really only the first step. The next step is, okay, how do I heal that shame, that hurt, that anger, that sadness? How do I develop a new strategy that's not about protecting my heart no matter what, right? Or escalating every time there's an issue so that I feel safe in the world, right? Making myself as big and scary as possible so that you can't hurt me, right? Whatever those strategies are. And I say this with all love, because, we all have our strategies that weren't so great, right? But you got to do the work to let them go. And, we're not going to get into this here, but that's really what we do. That is the basis of the work we do, is we help people heal those wounds and change those strategies. And, if you're ready to do that with us in a very deep and profound way, you can always email us at support@loveonpurpose.com. However, you say, what can I do about it? What am I supposed to do about it? Well, the therapy has gotten you only so far. So
it's time for the next step.
You got to take the next step.
Yeah.
You got to start to heal some of those emotional wounds.
And when you heal them, your strategies transform, right? So there's a whole. This is the work that we do. Really, we walk people through a system, and it's not a cookie cutter system, but the system works for anybody, because it's like a scientific result, right? So we've created a system where we literally walk people through this process of creating new strategies for giving and receiving love. Because let's think of it this way. The plot points that happen in your family of origin that you talked about in therapy about your messed up family, right? Those plot points are not changeable, right? We don't have some kind of time machine. Okay, we're going to fly back into, when you were 3 and change this, right? That's not going to happen. But when you were a little girl, and because I'm talking to Eve, or a little boy, this applies to you, I just want to say that those events that happen in your family of origin when you were a small child, you, as that small child, assigned meaning to those events. And here's the really cool thing. Those meanings are malleable.
That's right.
Those meanings are changeable. And on some level this is true, because you've had that experience where something happens to you and you tell a friend because, oh my gosh, this horrible thing happens, you just need to share, and you wanted some compassion and understanding, right? But you might tell that story at a party, several years later, and you sort of tweak the story a little bit, right? Like artistic license. You take a little artistic license with it, and you make it funny, right? And you say it a little bit differently to make it a little funny, and you tell it at a party. Same event, but different meanings assigned to those things.
Well, I want to say it this way, if you don't mind me jumping in here.
You can jump in. Thanks for asking.
So I'm assuming that some or most of you were raised with the idea of Santa Claus, or something like Santa Claus, right? That there's this magical creature that shows up and, I don't know,
he's not a creature, he's a man.
Pays for your tooth, or gives you presents, or leaves eggs around, right? Whatever that magical creature is.
Bunny,
right? The Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, whatever. Right? At some point, you discovered, and I hate to do this right now on this live stream, but you discovered that person or creature wasn't real.
No,
I know.
There's no Easter Bunny.
There's no Easter Bunny. No Tooth Fairy. No Santa Claus. Right? Sorry to say it. I bet that when you discovered that, you were kind of upset.
I like the Santa Claus one for that.
Right? Just like little Orna here.
I like the Santa Claus one for that, because kids really buy that hook, line, and sinker.
Right.
I mean, we have a friend whose daughter is 17 and she's still mad that she lied.
Right.
She's not upset she's not sad that Santa Claus isn't real. She's mad at her mother that her mother lied.
Exactly.
Because she taught her not to lie.
Most people looking back on that experience when they discovered the Santa Claus wasn't real, they're kind of like, oh yeah, that was sweet that I used to believe that, or funny or whatever. And I'm not upset about it anymore. Right? So the good news is a lot of those events in your childhood that you're talking about in therapy over and over and over again can become just like Santa Claus. They can become something that you go, well, I used to really, be upset about that thing, and I used to really be triggered about it, and I used to really carry that around with me like, this big bag on my shoulder, since we're talking about emotional baggage, right? You can change that story. You can let go of that baggage, and you can release it. And that's the good news.
Yeah, that is the good news.
Why don't we tell everybody who we are and what we're doing?
All right, everybody. Hello. This is Love Intervention, and I am Orna Walters.
And I'm Matthew Walters, and we are here to intervene in your love life to give you the tools, the resources, the whatever it is you need so that you can get the long-lasting, soul-satisfying love you desire.
Yeah. So if you're catching us on Facebook, give us a reaction over there, a like, a heart, or something or other there. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe. And look, in either wherever you were catching this live stream, if you have a question for us, because this isn't Ask Us Anything, you can go ahead and pop your question into the chat or the comments down below the live feed stream, and our team will port it over here. If you're catching us right here live in our Vimeo live stream box, there's a chat box right there. Go ahead and type it straight in. You don't have to go through the team, but thank you, team. We really appreciate you today and always for making this run smoothly. I'm always amazed that we're able to do this.
Yeah.
Right, technology. I want to take the very last, unless you want to pick a different one.
Well, I sort of feel like these people who jumped in early with their questions and we skipped around.
Okay, sure. Whatever you want to do.
They were Johnny on the spot and we ignored them. So let's start with Jasmine. Right, Jasmine says, why do I seem to only meet jerks online?
I feel like we answered that a lot.
Okay, that's why you didn't want to take it. So
Yeah.
Jasmine, we've answered that a lot. And it's part of it is your mindset, how you're thinking about it. You're highlighting these jerks, right? I'm sure there's a lot of nice guys out there you're just not paying attention to. And
what you expect, what you believe is true for you. That's what I want to say. Whatever, Jasmine, whatever you believe is true. If you believe most men are jerks, you will meet mostly jerks online.
Yeah.
You will also meet mostly jerks offline. So if you believe most men are jerks, most of the men that you find anywhere are going to be jerks because they're off in that limiting belief part, right? You're putting too much attention on the jerks. So if I say to you right now, don't think of a pink elephant. Don't think of a pink elephant, Jasmine. Don't think of a pink elephant. Don't think of a pink elephant. Do not think of a pink elephant. Your brain is seeing a pink elephant every single time I say that sentence. So every single time you see a jerk, you're like, there's another one. Oop, there's another one. Oop, there's another one. And then all you see are more jerks. You've programmed yourself to highlight the jerks. I gave him the thumb, not because he's a jerk, but because he hit the nail on the head. You hit the nail on the head. You've programmed your mind to highlight the jerks. So who you see are the jerks. We got to deprogram your mind. So if you want to find love online, you've got to find all the nice guys. And when you find the nice guys, you go, look, there's another one. Oh, there's another one. Oh, there's another and another and another and another. And pretty soon you'll find all of these really great guys. By the way, Jasmine and Jonah, I don't know. You guys might want to see if you can connect on here. Because he's a nice guy and he has a great sense of humor. Apparently he wins everybody over, ends up in the friend zone. Maybe there's a little match to have that you made here.
And I would say this. You may be attracted to jerks, and that's a whole different thing.
Oh, that's a totally different issue.
So, whether it's because you're thinking about jerks and you're like, I can't believe there's so many jerks, and so you're highlighting jerks and seeing more jerks to confirm your belief.
I need to interrupt you 1 second.
Okay.
Because you said it the right way, but most people think about it the wrong way, and I think this is so important.
Okay.
So what Matthew said, and you can rewind the tape, I promise you he said it like this. Maybe you're attracting jerks.
No, maybe you're attracted to jerks.
Oh, that's right.
That's what I said.
I did it wrong on purpose, so you would correct me.
Yeah.
My plan worked. Because most people think about it the way I just said it.
Yeah, you're not attracting jerks. You're attracted to jerks. And that's an important way to think about it, right? Because it's not like there's some radar that brings jerks to you.
I have a jerk magnet.
No, you don't have a jerk magnet. You have a jerk filter. Different thing.
You're wearing jerk glasses.
Right? You're going, these glasses only show jerks, right?
You got to take those jerk glasses off and find the nice guy that you find attractive set of lenses. You need new lenses.
The nice guy lenses.
You need a new pair of glasses. There are so many nice guys out there. I can't even tell you all of these amazing men that want a woman who's just going to love them up.
Yeah.
That's just going to love them. I remember, Matthew's friend John was the best man at our wedding. And his wife Kathleen, and they're like Matthew's longest standing friends since he moved to California, to Los Angeles. Yeah. And they're just awesome people. And I remember early in our dating, we had gone over there, and Kathleen like leaned in and said something to me. I don't know what guys were talking. They were probably in the same room, or maybe we were in a different room. I don't remember. It was so many years ago. But she leaned in and she says to me, "I knew Matthew just really needed a great woman for him to shine." And I will never forget that.
That's sweet.
I will never forget that. And I think there are so many wonderful men that really want a woman who's going to stand by them no matter what. And instead, you're not seeing them because you're wearing jerk glasses. And I want you to get rid of those glasses, throw them away, send them, crush them first, and then throw them away, because you don't need to be highlighting jerks. And once you realize that you can find the nice guys that you also find attractive, things will change. And if you want some help with that, email us, support@loveonpurpose.com. I never saw that go in the chat. So if we can, I'm going to type it in there myself.
There you go.
You can email us, and we have a little form. You can have a complimentary discovery call with us. Support@love. I had to think of what is our email address, and I didn't want to misspell it here. Okay. Here we go. Support@loveonpurpose.com. I think actually you can click there for those of you that are live, and your email magic will happen, and you'll just send us email magically by clicking that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Orna Walters.
I'm Matthew Walters.
And this is Love Intervention. We're here to intervene in your love life and make it wonderful. We want you to have that long-lasting and soul-satisfying love. Don't you want to share your life with somebody who really gets you, who's going to stand by you no matter what?
Yeah.
That's why we do this every 2 weeks.
That's right.
So I like this question from Jack.
Okay.
So Jack says, my wife is awesome. I really love her. That's so sweet to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, we met at the office, and she is so comfortable swinging. Oh, we met at the, oh, sorry, I skipped there's 3 parts to Jack's question. My bad. Let me read the whole thing. My wife is awesome. I really love her. This is my second rodeo, and I don't ever want to go through another divorce. The thing is, and I feel weird writing it out, she doesn't have a lot of friends. We have 2 kids. She's a stay-at-home mom. She's calling me at work while I'm at work all day long. We met at the office, so she's comfortable swinging by all the time. And I'm the boss, so it's not like I'm going to get in trouble. That's cute. I'm starting to feel frustrated that she'll call me over what to buy at the market or at Starbucks. I want her to be happy, and I'm starting to think she's not because she's bugging me all day long. What do I do? Oof. Oh my gosh, it's like a sweet question.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I love her. She's making me crazy. How do I get her to stop making me crazy and calling me? That would make me absolutely nuts if somebody called me all day long at work. Like, we have a thing, even we work together, and I'll be like, my door's closed. Like Matthew and I just have I'm working on something. Don't interrupt me.
You don't interrupt.
Yeah, my door's closed. So
don't even knock.
Here's the thing, right? She doesn't have a lot of friends. I think that being a stay-at-home mom can be kind of isolating. It's like, sounds like she does need some, like, the mommy and me classes, or the, you know what I mean? Like the mommies that hang out so she can have some friends. And I don't know how old your kids are, but my first thought is to go at it from, nudging her to make friends with some of the other mommies that might be around.
She could also just be needing something in her life, right? I mean, she used to work for you, I'm assuming, based on what you said. You met at work and you're the boss, so she used to work for you. So she doesn't have, I mean, she's raising kids, and that's, a lot of work.
The biggest job.
But she doesn't have her purpose as an adult, as a human, right? She has a purpose as a mom, which I think is different. And so maybe, finding friends or finding something a little bigger that she can put her energy into, she can put her focus on, besides just the kids.
Yeah. She's got to find something that feels purposeful. She's got to find something. And also just having more friends, I think, interacting and there's a lot of different blog posts. We actually know somebody who wrote a blog post years ago that went kind of viral about making friends later in life, like when you're a grown-up, because it does become harder. And, over the last couple of years with this pandemic and everything else, it is harder to make new friends.
Right.
And so I don't know how, I do know how. Actually, I was going to say, I don't know how you have that conversation. Of course I know how to have the conversation. That's why you're here asking us. Okay, so here's the deal, Jack. I'm going to type it into the chat as well. I feel, so Jack, fill in the blank. I feel blank when someone I love appears to me to not be fulfilled. And then you make a request. Right? And so here's the deal. You're going to share from your authentic self. And you're going to say, honey, I love you. And I feel, I don't know what the feeling statement is. What did you say? Frustrated. I'm starting to feel frustrated. She'll call me over what to buy at the market or Starbucks, right? I feel a little frustrated when you're calling me multiple times throughout my workday. I really love you and our kids, and I feel like there's some, maybe you're needing some more adults. It's like you want to ask a curiosity question. So I've said put in a request, and it should have been a colon there, but because you're not going to say the word request with a fill in the blank, so I mistyped that.
That's fun.
But I just want to say, excuse me, that it's like a curiosity conversation. It's like, hey, wife, I'm curious about you.
Right.
And then in there, you're going to weave in how you're feeling. And so you're going to ask her questions about herself, and you're going to also share your experience. And so when you share your experience and you're curious about the other person, oh my gosh, you're opening all of these doors, right? And you probably want to have this conversation, not when she's in the middle of doing something like serving dinner or playing with the kids. You don't even want the kids around. You know, I don't know if it's something where you have the opportunity to talk before bed, or if one of you is, you know, if you divide and conquer, sometimes, you know, or if there's a family bed, maybe the kids are in your bed to go to sleep at night. I don't know what the bedtime ritual is. That might not be the right time. But maybe, I don't know how old the kids are, if you have help, or if there's a nanny or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle or whatever, somebody that can take the kids for a couple hours. And maybe you just take her out on a date, right? And then at some point in the evening, you just get curious and have this conversation about your concern, because what you're sharing here is actually really lovely and really, really sweet, that you love her so much, and that you're worried that she's not really fulfilled, that she's calling you all day long, because she needs some gal pals to hang with, and she needs somebody else that she can call about buying stuff at the market or whatever. I'm assuming you've been married long enough to have 2 kids that she already knows, what you like to eat for dinner, right? So I don't think that that's part of the problem. But it sounds like she's kind of like hungry for adult interaction. And it's actually really common with stay-at-home moms. So I think if you bring it to a conversation from a curiosity perspective, and also share how you're feeling and how you really need to streamline your workday, so you're spending less time at the office and more time at home with her, and that ultimately is the goal. And I think she'll really eat it up.
Awesome. I got nothing to add to that. That's pretty good.
You like that? You got nothing to add?
Nothing to add.
I don't think that's ever happened in all these years. You don't have something, you're not plussing me? I'm like, whoa, I don't know what to do with that.
Boy, we got time for one more here.
It's Vanessa, I think.
You want to go with Vanessa? Okay, Vanessa says, I've been on again and off again with a guy that I love, but he always disappoints me. I don't feel like a priority. He's let me down so many times. I break up with him, and he always finds a way to talk me into taking him back. How do I end up for good? There must be someone better suited for me without so much drama. Help. Ugh. Right. So I want to say this about, people who end up in the on again, off again, and the person always manages to talk their way back in, right? When they're in that talking their way back in, there's a really important question you need to ask. It is, what is going to be different this time? Bingo. What is going to be different this time? Because it hasn't worked for me in the past. And if you want back in, it's got to be different.
What has changed?
What has changed? But you're past that. I get that. But I just want to say that for anybody else who's in the situation, right? That when you're in that, hey, I miss you, and wow, we had so much fun together, and why can't we just, get back together and get things going again? You're going to say,
what's changed?
What do you mean?
Well,
I miss you.
No, that's not a change. I mean, it's a change because I ended it and we moved on. But what's going to be different? Because I broke up with you because you keep disappointing me.
Wah, wah. I got nothing to say to that because
Boom.
boom,
Kaboom.
boom, right?
Mic drop. I mean, look, here's the deal. And I will tell you, I'm kind of weird. I'm like a weirdo person. I'm not really in the bell curve. I don't think like normal people. But I dated this guy, and we were in a play together, and we dated. And the play had a run, so there was a start date and an end date, and I was like, "That's great, right?" And we dated, and then he broke up with me, and we were still in the play. And then 2 weeks later, we're still in the play, and then he wants to get back together. And that kind of went like this. Right? I miss you, right? I think my birthday was in there. So like my birthday was towards the end of the 2 weeks, and he got me this really expensive gift and was like, I really want you back and I miss you. And I was like, what's changed? And he was like, I miss you. He actually like, it was like I couldn't have written it any better. And here's the thing, it's like, what's different? Because to me, he had broken up with me. Right. So it's a little bit of a different situation because to me, it was like he broke it off out of the blue as far as I was concerned and didn't really give me a great, what I thought was a good reason. And then he wanted to get back together 2 weeks later because he, quote, missed me. And I'm like, but I don't have any stability now because he could just decide again, it's off again on his, you know what I mean? Like, I don't like the flippy floppy. Like you either like me or you don't like me. And if you don't like me, that's okay. But then move along. Don't come back 2 weeks later with nothing changing. So because you're the one who keeps initiating, you have to draw a harder boundary and say, I am whatever your reasons are, right? Like we generally coach our clients to not give a lot of reasons when you're the initiator of a breakup.
You don't have to. You just have to say, look,
right?
Claire, we're not a match.
And so here's what I would like for you to do is to have a no contact rule. And this, I think, is really important, Vanessa. You're going to have no contact with this person, and you make the hard request. Is you say, I have ended this relationship, and you're back here asking me to take you back again. I want zero contact for, come up with a number.
3 months, 6 months.
It could be, dude, again, the interrupting me. It could be 21 days, it could be 3 weeks, it could be 3 months. Right? It could be 6 months. It could be whatever you decide to come up with. There's no, I don't like those hard and fast rules. I know, like, I think it's Matt Hussey says like a 30-day rule or a 60-day rule. I don't remember because who cares what he says.
They're your rules.
They're your rules. That's why we don't like these cookie cutter rules. Like Vanessa, look in your heart and go, how much time do I need to really know what it's like to live without this person talking to me, texting me, interacting with me, to get clear on your stuff, right? To know whether there's any doorway or anything for an opening. So here's the deal is you ask for that. And if that person is unable to honor your request of no contact, that is not your person. And I hate to make it so cookie cutter clear, but clarity is what you need. And so here's the tough love kind of call, because I think this is a tough love subject that we brought up tonight, right?
Sure.
Signs your partner has too much emotional baggage for a relationship, right? Is saying, right? You got to have some boundaries. You got to cut it off. You got to know when to cut it off. And so Vanessa, only you know yourself well enough to know how much time and space do you need. And then you can decide right then and say, look, if I will get back to you in 3 weeks or 3 months or 6 months or whatever the time frame is, and then I'll see where you're at and you can see where I'm at. But the reality is you don't even have to have that, right? You can say, but if the person is unable to honor your request for time away, they're not willing to honor any of your requests, which means they don't really respect you in the way you need to be respected for love to exist, for real love to exist.
Yeah.
Because in my family of origin, there were no boundaries, and there wasn't respectful love. And so this is a real stickler for me, because when you love somebody, you honor their requests. And so if somebody says, I don't want to be with you, I don't want to talk to you, I need some space from you, we are not going to have zero contact for X number of days. And I don't care what there's no emergency necessary, right? To get back in touch. There really isn't. And that what you do is you say, I'm taking my space, and that person needs to honor your request. And if that person's able to honor your request, and after the end of that time period, you're like, you know what, I do want to evaluate the situation and see if we can work this out, great. But if they're not even willing to give you the time that you yourself requested, oof, that's a tough one for me, because respectful love has to be in the mix, and respectful love has a boundary. I mean, I love Matthew with my whole heart. I love him with every fiber of my being, but it is not acceptable for me to do anything to Matthew. We have respect between us, and respect means there is a boundary between us, and he is a separate person from me. And so I have to be respectful of him, and I have to be respectful of his wishes, and I have to be respectful of his body autonomy. I have to be respectful that he's a grown man to make his own decisions, right? So there's respectful love has a boundary. And I think that that is one of the most important things and one of the most important skills for people to learn, because I had to learn how to love somebody respectfully. Because in my family of origin, we didn't have that. I love you meant I could beat you, and then I could yell at you, and then I could throw things at you. I mean, it's a horrible place to be as a child when you don't have any defenses. And so when I learned that I wanted to have respectful love in my life, the thing that looking in the mirror, I realized was, oh my gosh, if I want to have someone love me respectfully, then I had to learn to love someone respectfully. And I didn't know how to do that when I had that realization. But that was my deep inner work before finding Matthew, right? Because I had to learn to love him respectfully. And so I want you to understand that this person has to love you respectfully. And everybody that's listening, whatever your requests are, whatever your terms for love are, if that person doesn't have the capacity or can't honor your request, then there's no point in even trying to make it work. It's never going to work if that isn't respectful love in the equation.
I think that's a great place for us to wrap things up tonight. Thank you, my
Yay.
lovely wife.
Thank you. And thank all of you.
Yeah.
And thank you to our great team. Thank you, Isa, for helping us out tonight. And thank you, all of you, for joining us here at Love Intervention. We'll be back in 2 weeks on August. Oh, my God, it's going to be August in 2 weeks.
Yep.
We'll be back on August 2nd, same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And we thank you so much for joining us and for all your